With that, let's get started talking about content-based SEO. What I want you to do as you come into this program is really to shift your thinking. I want you to let go of a lot of the things that you have come to believe are important about SEO. Stop worrying about keywords. Focus instead on the questions that your customers have. Why? Because search has really changed a tremendous amount in the last 20 years. In the early days of search, all the engines could handle were sort of Boolean type equations, furnace plus repair. But these days, those search engines are a lot more sophisticated, and they can respond to queries like, why does my furnace smell funny? Should I change my filter this week? So you want to start with the questions, especially as people spend more time on mobile devices and yell out, hey Siri, hey Google. As your customers come to search engines, what they're doing is they come looking for information. They have questions, and those questions fall into one of these four categories: information, navigation, commercial investigation, and transaction. And so as you start working on your content-based SEO program, this is where you're going to start with the questions. What's an informational question? These are the kind of things that people ask as they begin their search. They almost don't know what they don't know. And so there are a lot of general questions. What is? How do I? They're looking for tips, ideas, suggestions, definitions, and the kind of things that you can create to answer these informational questions are going to be resources, tutorials, how-to videos. The more content you can put out there, that's that very high level, hey, if you're thinking about a furnace, here are 3 things you need to know. Really preliminary information. The more of that you put out there, the better chance you're going to have of attracting people at the very, very front end of their search. The next step is navigation. And here, people are really looking to refine their search a bit. They have done some basic research and they've heard about a couple of brands. So now they want to know things like, where can I buy? Who sells this? I'm interested in a silver-plated doorknob. Where can I find that? So they know kind of what they want, and they're looking for where. At this stage, the kind of things that are really important are product listings and logos. And also, you want to make sure that your Google My Business page supports your website with a lot of the same kind of information. When you look at the impact of informational questions versus navigational questions, all you have to do is look at your traffic sources, and you're going to see the difference between direct, discovery, and branded. Direct is when someone is definitely looking for you, for your brand, for the name of your company. Branded search is when they have a particular product brand in mind. So, for example, as a plumber, do you carry Delta faucets or Kohler toilets? As a paint company, do you carry Sherwin-Williams? They're looking for brands. Direct searches are people who already know you and are looking for you. And discovery is really those people who are asking questions. So navigation will typically drive direct and branded traffic, but informational searches If you can do a good job of answering those, you're going to see a lot of discovery traffic, a lot of people bumping into your website because they had a general question. Commercial investigation. This is where people are really kind of getting more specific, and they start asking comparison questions. Which is better? What's the difference? And at this stage, you really want to think about content that helps answer those questions. You want to make sure that your website includes reviews and testimonials. You want to make sure that you have case studies and comparison blog posts. Every single one of my content clients has this one comparison post that drives traffic year in, year out, week in, week out. For my bean client, it's what's the difference between a navy bean, a northern bean, and a cannellini bean? On my carpet client, it's what's the difference between frisé and plush carpet? I had a heating and air conditioning client who had a post, how does a whole house humidifier work, and compared it to a sort of a tabletop humidifier. Every one of those posts, when I say drives traffic, hundreds and hundreds of views every single month. You can't pay for that kind of position when you have a great blog post that answers a really specific question. And the last types of questions are the transactionals. And here people are looking for price, coupon, discount, near me. These questions are more relevant in the business to consumer category, but even in the business to business category, we do see some transactional questions popping up. So now you've got these 4 kinds of questions. Your assignment is to write 3 questions for each phase that's relevant for your business. If you put your business in the chat, I can shoot off some examples at the end of the session. The next thing you want to do after you get that first batch of questions is you want to evaluate the questions. You want to go to your Google Search Console and take a look for search results and volume. Only do this if you really feel like being really geeky. Because if you just want to do a non-technical evaluation, the second level is really more important. Bottom line is, do you answer the question? Do you have posts, pages, images, video on these questions? Go to your website and type in the question and see what comes up in the search result. Do you have one blog post or many? If you think something is a good question and it is something that your customers are asking, you better have multiple pieces of content on your website that are related to that subject. And then after you've done that, you want to look at alternative or related questions. How do you get those alternative and related questions? Well, first thing is we're going to look at evaluating your question. Here you've got for a flooring contractor. We brainstormed a list of questions. We actually went to Google to the keyword tracker and really looked at for each of these questions, what kind of search results did we get? Here we went through and looked at related pages, and this was really interesting. Do I have to have my subfloor replaced? 8 million searches every month about subfloor, and they had 0 pieces of content on their website. So this told us it's not huge. It's really a niche topic. I mean, it's not getting 3 million views or 3 billion views. It's not even getting 200 million, but 8 million searches this is search result. These are the number of different pieces of content floating around out there. When this number is lower, it means not as many people are writing about it, so it's an opportunity if you want to. So go to your website. You've got this little question bar right here. Go ahead and click, and the word search will usually come up. Type in whatever it is you're looking for, and then see what comes up. And then I also mentioned that you want to find alternatives. And Google actually makes it really easy. Type in the question you want, and what are you going to see? People also ask. And so this was the question I started with, but wow, look at all these other questions. And some of these are really good, and I could write great content about some of these questions and just start making a list. And the cool thing is every time you open up one of these tabs, more and more related questions are going to appear. One of the other tools we use is something called Answer the Public. And what you want to do is you want to go to answerthepublic.com and type in your sentence or your question. And it's a really nice visual representation of all of the related questions that this tool could pop up. And you can actually click into some of these links and it will reposition and get more questions and more questions. So what I want you to do is take those questions that you brainstorm and now go back and use some research to guide new content creation. Go ahead and add more questions and then get started. Now you've got ideas for blog posts. If it's really important, if it's a really high-level question, you may want to add the answer to your homepage. Remember, people go to search engines with questions. Google is looking for websites that answer those questions. If you don't answer the question, you're not going to have a shot at taking care of that customer. One way to do this is to create an FAQ page. And the frequently asked questions is really a home for all of these questions. You don't necessarily have to have the answer to every question on this page, but you might have a link. FAQs are a real asset for the people who are building your site, visiting your site. If the page is well organized, it saves them time as they try to find answers, and it earns trust. It makes users feel more comfortable with you and with your website. And at the same time, FAQs are good for SEO. They always include keywords in the answer. Sometimes, if you've optimized your page correctly, they may even display as a rich snippet. And they are ideally matched to voice search. As people get on and say things like, "Hey Siri, how do I change the air filter on this product?" If you've written a blog post about it, you've got a good shot at appearing in the top position. Other things to keep in mind as you're building an FAQ page. This reflects your audience's needs. I can't tell you how many times I go to an FAQ page and it's really an about us page disguised as an FAQ. Trust me, people are not laying awake at night wondering what the mission of your company is. What they're laying awake at night wondering about is, I have this problem, can I use your product to solve it? It should cover a range of intent. If you remember at the beginning of this presentation, I talked about information, commercial, transactional intent. You should have all of the questions from those different parts of the sales process. You need to frequently update the page. Google loves news, so add a new question, add more information. The cool thing about an FAQ page is it will attract visitors, and it drives, if you set it up, internal page views. So I come to your FAQ page, I read a little snippet about cadmium plated widgets, but I want to know more, and there's a read more button. I'm going to click on it and go to a page where there is a whole longer post of information. And of course, it just demonstrates your expertise. So, as you're structuring your FAQ page, lean on that question answer format and answer questions from the customer's perspective. No jargon, no technical stuff. Really think about that consumer who's going to buy your product. What do they see? Keep your answers short. If you really have a ton of information, add a learn more button and jump the visitor to a longer page. As you build your page, this is a little geeky SEO, but you want to make sure that you actually use FAQ or frequently asked questions about in the title of your page. Categorize, if you have a lot of questions, categorize and group them. Don't just organize them alphabetically because it's easy. Put questions that belong together. Make sure the content is searchable so I can scroll down and find just what I'm looking for. Maybe feature your most common questions up at the top of the page. And make sure it's easy to actually find the page. And then, if you're building an SEO, a content-based SEO program, blog, 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 blog. You have to be routinely generating new content and new information, and your blog is the easiest way to do that. You don't want to be updating your home page or your product page all the time. So just create a blog, and it gives you a home to add new content. And the blogs are incredibly searchable on your site. And then take a look at what's working now. Look at your best posts and look for opportunities to improve them. So the first thing you want to do is evaluate existing content. If you have content that ranks well in search, but doesn't drive traffic, so you have a blog post that scores well, Google keeps showing it, experiment with changing the title and maybe the meta description. If you're using a WordPress website, you can use something like Rank Math or Yoast and play with variations of the title and description. If the website generates regular traffic, then the next step is to add conversion forms and internal links. We had a page on a position statement, and it gets traffic all the time. But what was happening is people would come to the page, they would read the article, and they would leave. And so we added a call to action at the bottom. We added a podcast in the middle. We added links to other related topics. If you've got a page that's driving traffic, you want to milk everything you can out of it. And if you have a page that actually is generating conversions, that when people come to this page, they sign up, they download, they schedule, they do what they're supposed to, then that's the page you want to promote. Another source, great source of content, is look at your inbox, look at your email, look at what were the questions people asked, what were the email answers that you created and sent off. That's fabulous content for your website and your blog because it's already questions people have. And develop a content plan. Start with the questions that we outlined in the beginning of the presentation. Make a list of the possible new topics that you're going to write about, as well as make a list of the pages that do answer the question and develop a plan to update that content. These days, you don't have to write as many blog posts. If you have existing content, go back, add another paragraph, add 100 words and one new picture, and you'd be amazed how interested Google will become. And then share, 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 and share again.